international organizations, a very good morning and namaste to all. I extend a warm welcome to you all. It's great to have you here in Gurugram for the very first meeting of the Anti-Corruption Working Group. And it's a matter of great pride for India under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to have assumed the G20 presidency. The theme of G20 presidency, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is one earth, one family, one future. Meaning that the whole world is one single family, affirming the value of life and their interconnectedness on planet Earth and in the wider universe. The theme spotlights life, that is, lifestyle for environment, with its associated environmentally sustainable and responsible choices, both at the individual level lifestyles as well as the national development, leading on to globally transformative actions which result in a cleaner and a greener future for all of us. The G20 logo draws its inspiration from the vibrant colors of India's national flag, as you would have noticed, and it juxtaposes planet Earth with lotus. Lotus, the national flower of India, which reflects growth and challenges. Growth and challenges. The logo and the theme together therefore convey a very powerful message of India's G20 presidency, which is striving for just and equitable growth for all across the world as we navigate through these turbulent times in a sustainable, holistic, responsible and inclusive manner. They represent a uniquely Indian approach to the G20 presidency of living in harmony with the surrounding ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to address the important working group on anti-corruption. Coming straight to the theme of this morning's discussion, as we all would appreciate, corruption is a complex social, political, economic challenge affecting all the countries, as was also being reiterated before me by Professor Soverino. In a globalized world, corruption has ramifications well beyond the G20. It's no longer confined only to the 20 countries. It adversely affects the effective utilization of resources, creates market distortions, adversely affects the quality of life of citizens, impacting the benefits of globalization and consequently the economic growth and overall governance, and most disproportionately and unfortunately affecting the poor and the most marginalized. Economic offences, ladies and gentlemen, have been a problem faced by many of us and many countries, especially when the offenders flee from the jurisdiction of the country. And that's an issue that all of us would have to address. And as was being said by Professor Soverino, global fight possibility. India, I'm glad to share with you, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, put in place a specialized legislation a few years back in the form of Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. The term wherein the fugitive economic offender is defined as an individual against whom a warrant of arrest in relation to scheduled offence has been issued by any court in India and who has left the country so as to avoid criminal prosecution, or the offender abroad refuses to return to face the criminal prosecution back home. Further, there have been numerous instances of financial or banking frauds that were investigated under relevant statutory provisions that involved high net worth individuals where the proceeds of crime involved was more than $1 billion US. And during the course of investigations, it was found that the offenders fled the country before or after the detection of the offence, as a result of which the passports were revoked with a view to restrict their movement. And I might share with you that the Enforcement Directorate of India has transformed assets worth about $180 billion to the public sector banks that suffered losses to the tune of around $272 billion.
Committed allegedly by such high net worth individuals. Even after initiating the process of getting information from foreign countries or assets through letters of regulatory, the process of extradition was found to be highly complex, as you would appreciate, and time-consuming also, which led to delay in the investigation and also the trial of offences. Fellow delegates, you would bear with me when I say the corruption and related economic offences have harmed the welfare of the citizens of many countries, or may I say across the world. The corrupt find a way to park their proceeds of crime, and this money belongs to the citizens of the country from India. It has been taken. Often, this has been taken from some of the poorest people in the world. Further, it is such money that is pushed into evil activities, and that's another major concern. From illegal drugs that destroy young lives to human trafficking. From weakening the democracies to the sale of illegal arms. This dirty money funds several destructive enterprises. And yes, these are the diverse legal and procedural frameworks to deal with them. However, there is a need for the global community to work even faster for the recovery of assets through proactive information among the G20 countries. Therefore, I would say that for better coordination, streamlining of the judicial processes and timely disposal of cases, there is a requirement for what can be described as a multilateral action rather than bilateral coordination, which proves to be more complex and presents obstacles in making progress on cases related to these foreign economic offenders and the recovery of the related assets. It is our considered view in India that strengthening of mechanisms for speedy confiscation of the proceeds of crime, both at home and abroad, will force the offenders to return to their home country. And this will allow for an effective investigation and speedy trial of the related offence. This will also help the banks and the other financial institutions, as well as the tax authorities, to achieve recovery from the defaults committed by such foreign economic offenders, thus restoring to some extent the overall health of these banks as well as other financial institutions, while eliminating the possibility of further misuse of these funds. Colleagues, Prime Minister Jitendra Modi has envisaged developing such an administrative ecosystem, and I assure you for that, which has zero tolerance to corruption. Taking inspiration from him, India's presidency will aim to focus on pragmatic action-oriented steps to address the wider implications of corruption, to strengthen international cooperation on anti-corruption matters, and deepen the G20 commitment towards countering corrupt actors and corruption. India has taken a series of initiatives in recent years, such as, for example, the direct benefit transfer, the DBT, which has won India global accolades. The International Monetary Fund describes this initiative DBT as a logistical marvel that ensures efficiency and transparency and also eliminates intermediaries in the delivery of funds to the targeted beneficiaries. Additionally, the government e-marketplace, as was being mentioned by Mrs. Chauhan, is another initiative that has been launched by India to usher in an era of transparency, efficiency, and speed in public procurement. Ladies and gentlemen, as the primary forum for global economic cooperation, G20, we believe, has to take the responsibility to lead the global efforts battling the menace of corruption, as was being mentioned by Professor Sabarino. Since its inception, the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group has been at the forefront of addressing all forms of corruption. The G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group has demonstrated its commitment by adopting anti-corruption principles and other deliverables, such as concordance of good practices, annual accountability reports, and holding of side events. The Indian G20 presidency, I assure you, will build on the robust foundation laid in the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Groups during the previous presidencies, and will also further strengthen the G20 nations' commitment to ensure zero tolerance against corruption. As the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stated on a number of occasions, and I quote, "A safe and secure world is our shared responsibility." When the forces of good cooperate, the forces of crime cannot operate. Unquote. India's G20 presidency, I assure you, will focus on providing an effective, efficient, and responsive mechanism on asset recovery and information sharing among the G20 countries. It is important that all these state parties express the same determination against corruption, which I am sure would happen. I am confident that the Anti-Corruption Working Group, under the chairship of India and co-chairship of Italy, will come up with substantial outcomes aimed at preventing and combating terror and corruption.